Hello there and welcome back to the second video about building my fish house. As you can see, the shed is up, we've got the doors on, it's screwed into the floor in all the corners, so we're all secure and tight. The next thing we have to do is actually stop the water coming in. You can see here we've had a bit of rain over the last couple of days. I've had a little bit of seepage. Just underneath the outside edge that this has happened, there was one little drip. You can just see the wet spot there on the inside. But other than that, we were quite watertight, so not too bad. We just need to sort this out. What we also need to do is put a bit of expanding foam around. So we need to close these gaps up and the gaps on the roof just to stop heat escaping. Because essentially we want this to be quite a warm shed, and any loss of heat is going to cost money basically, because it's going to be heated up by my fish tanks and that costs money. So the warmer we can make it and the better insulated we can make it inside here, the cheaper it's going to be to run. So first things first, we've got lots of stuff. For expanding foam, I'm just going to be using this. It's just basic stuff, nothing special. And then we've got lots of silicone. And we've got grip fill for when the Celotex arrives. So I'm going to be using 20mm Celotex. I was planning on using thicker Celotex, but actually I worked out really the gap between these points and sort of the outside of this bar, or the inside edge of this bar, is about 20mm. And then once we have plywood cladding, it'll probably just be in line with this bar. So I don't want to lose too much space. And it's a bit of a compromise between the thickness of the Celotex and how much space I lose. So I think 20mm is going to be okay. Also, I haven't decided yet, but I might put a vinyl down just to stop any of this seepage actually affecting the framework. So if I'm not able to properly seal around the base, then I'll put a vinyl down over the concrete. And although it won't stop the water coming in, at least it'll be a barrier between the tanks, stands, and the actual the liquid that's coming in. In terms of the ceiling, what I'm going to be doing is siliconing all of the screw holes. So you can see a little bit of a light coming in there, so obviously that's a leak waiting to happen. So all these little screw holes, we're just going to be using silicone, and it's just going to be basic aquarium silicone or just general purpose. This stuff here, HA6, it's about £3 a tube, so it's so much cheaper than what is labelled as aquarium silicone. But this can be used in aquariums. It's also good for pretty much any silicone, because I think it's just pure silicone, so it's really good stuff. So we'll get that done, and then we're going to line the ceiling with some silver foil. The same thing I did in my other fish house. I don't think I'll put Celotex on the roof, I'll just line it with a silver foil. So in terms of the expanding foam, you can see there's quite a big gap underneath the shed in some places. So I'm going to expanding foam under all of these gaps. It's mainly in this corner and in this corner. And what this will do is it will just block up most of the large gap, and also stick the shed a little bit to the floor. And then when I do the ceiling around the outside, it will hopefully make that a lot easier as well, because it'll mean I'll have to use less of the filler to actually block up the gap. Oh, there's a spider in it. Let that get out. So this stuff does expand quite a bit, so we're just going to do a small amount underneath the shed base. I've used this before in other applications and I know how much it expands, so we don't want to be putting too much under there, because we're just going to be wasting a lot once it expands out. But this will help just to fill up the recesses around the base of this shed. So that's the filling done, pretty much. Well, that is it done. I've done all the inside. You can see around the base, bit of a mess. There's lots of filler everywhere, as you can see. I've just done along the roof beam there, and it's dripping down. Also, it's really hard to keep the canister upright, because that's what you need to do, keep it upright when you're spraying it. So there's a little bit of mess. So I've done all the way around the base. It's looking good, should meet my requirements. And then what I'm going to do now is just trim it all up, take it back to the edge of the shed frame, and then we're going to put some sealant around that as well. Right, well the rain has stopped finally after the last 3 or 4 days of torrential rain, and I'll just show you where we're at in terms of progress. So the ceiling has been completely foiled. You'll notice there's 2 different types of foil. This is a sheeting that I had left over from my last shed build. I had quite a lot of it left, so I thought I would just, use it up rather than throw it away. And on the other side, we have the insulating bubble wrap foil stuff. So it's a bit of a mismatch, but it does the same job. And like I said, I didn't want to waste money and just throw this stuff away. I have to also do the doors, which I've got some spare stuff left over, and I'll do the eaves as well on each side. But that's a minor job. What has happened today is all my Celotex has arrived. So I've got 11 sheets of Celotex. It's 25mm. It's proper Celotex board. Paid, I think, almost £300 for this delivered, which I don't think that's too bad. Considering where I live as well, delivery is not massively easy. So 300 quid for 11 boards delivered, I think is quite good. And what we're basically going to do with that is put it as cells in between the bars here. So basically you can see, here's a better example, just this sort of rectangular part. We're going to cut one board down, fit it into that rectangle, and then do the same on that point. The reason being is I really don't want to put it over this bar because it will stick out too far, and it'll just be awkward as well when I want to put the wood on, because I'm planning on using these bolts, but I bought longer ones to actually go through the same holes and hold the plyboard on top of the Celotex. So that's the plan. In terms of leaking, I fixed all the leaks in the roof. We've absolutely no leaks. There was drips coming through the top of the roof, as I kind of predicted with our wind and rain that we get up here. But we've had some really heavy rain and nothing's come through. The only problem we have got is the stupid design of this shed. You can see there's a puddle here, and this puddle has been confusing me for a bit. But what is actually happening is these doors, if you can see, they kind of have this design where they're on the inside of the frame, and whenever rain hits the door, the rain goes onto the metal and it goes down into that sort of runner, and then it ends up inside the shed, and this is why we have this puddle. So really annoying. I think what it means is I'm going to have to build an outside door frame, sort of a secondary door frame, to then put some more wooden doors on, or metal doors, to replace these sliding doors, because they're absolutely useless. You can see the water's got in there. So yeah, really annoying, but it's a problem we can overcome. As you can see, I've got most of this plyboard up. This is 11mm OSB, so it's pretty good strength, thickness, and ideal really for the situation I'm putting in for the fish room cladding. And how I'm connecting it to the wall is actually quite easy, and it's working really well. I had it planned from the outset. So you can see here in the frame of this shed, there's these bolts sort of evenly distributed along the main frame. And what I've basically done is I'm taking the bolts out. They're quite small bolts in terms of length. I think they're only maybe 2 centimeters, and I'm replacing them with 50mm. So it's the same diameter, it's 4mm, but it's actually a lot longer. So what I do is just bolt it from the outside and then put a washer on. And you can see here, obviously it's a little bit long, so I can cut that down. And essentially that's how I've been holding it on to the back wall. You can see over here again. So it's really quite nice. It's just a matter of putting the boards against the Celotex, drilling through from the outside, and then putting the bolts on. Now that does leave a gap along the top, and for that I'm just going to cut lengths of this OSB, and I'm just going to glue it to the Celotex, because the Celotex sheet will be held in place by this OSB, and I'm not going to be hanging anything off or fixing anything from the top sort of strip of OSB. The only exception probably will be this back wall. So for the back wall, I'll more than likely put some new bolts through for that OSB, because I'm going to be hanging shelves and things off of that end. But for the sides, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to glue them on because they're going to be behind racking anyway, so no biggie. So big changes, as you can see. We are now in the shed with no doors open. We have lighting inside. Yay! The electrician has been round today, and within the day he has fitted these lovely lights. It's all done professionally because obviously I said I couldn't trust myself really with doing this kind of stuff. The electricity comes in over here. It's a junction box outside. This loop he's left me so that I can put a meter. I can fit a meter in there myself so I can measure how much electricity I'm using. And we have plugs. So there's plugs in each corner, so 2 doubles. And I've also got 20 amps of power to play with. So we're not on a normal 13 amp, we've got 20 amp fuse, and we've got big armoured cable that can support that power. So that's cool. And you can see here we've got a light switch in the corner. That's the light switch. And that runs up there, all nicely wired in to these 2 LED lights. So, super progress. We've gone from a blank canvas to a fully insulated and boarded out and electrified shed. Next stage will be racking and getting the fish tanks in. So, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this part of the video. If you want to see more of this kind of content and follow this particular build, then make sure to subscribe. Also, hit a like if you've enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and happy fish keeping!